Now, back when we were kids, we used to go down the local stand of bamboo and very carefully select a length and cut it and bind some guides to it and make a fishing rod, didn't we?
Gee, you were sophisticated. All we used to do was tie the line to the end of the rod. And used to do what we call Ned Kelly them, you know, you drop straight over here.
Yeah, and throw it over your shoulder.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yes, they're getting more sophisticated these days.
Yeah, because the advent of plastics, and particularly thermoset plastics such as polyester and epoxies and long filament reinforcements such as long filament fiberglass has made the manufacture of these a very highly sophisticated operation.
Certainly has.
Do you see the advantages? I mean, is the fact that a rod can be designed with progressive flex and all that sort of thing a great advantage?
You can design and have a rod built these days exactly the way you want it.
Yeah.
Some people, as in sports fishing, like a rod that is more jig sticky. That is, in this area of the rod down here, it's very, very stiff, whereas at the tip, it's got a lot of flexibility.
Right.
The whiting fishermen, they prefer still the old, what we used to term the sloppy Joe, which was all the way through, had all
flex
spring,
all the way through.
No whip, all flex.
Right, yeah. So how do you approach the selection of a rod? Obviously there would be rods which would be good general purpose. You could catch brim, whiting, luderig, whatever.
This one that I've got in my hand now is such a rod, and we have it specially made by Mr. Wilson in Brisbane. And I call it a Nev Howard all-purpose 8 foot.
Right.
Now that says everything really. You can use it over a big area. Once again, you don't want to fill your room up with
fishing rods.
Fishing rods. You can't do that.
No.
Although some people try.
Yeah.
But they just can't do that. So what you've got to do is choose all-purpose rods.
So that'd be a compromise in between a jig stick and a sloppy Joe. It'd be progressively flexible. Yep. It'd be sufficiently light on the tip to be good for brim and whiting, and yet it'd still be able to haul a flathead in the boat.
Still got enough guts in this part of the rod to pick up a flathead or a tailor.
Right.
That's exactly what it is.
When we get more specialised, you hear of brim rods, you hear of whiting rods and things like that.
Yes.
How do they differ?
Only by the flexibility of that rod, the amount of wraps.
Yes.
That is the amount of wraps of glass that is in that, making it a stronger rod or a lighter rod.
Yeah, or stiffer or more flexible.
And later they've been using the carbons and this sort of thing wrapped up with the glass so that to make them a lot lighter.
All right. Now, if you go for a specialised rod, is that still capable of catching a variety of species and sizes of fish, or is it really specialised?
It's really specialised, and yes, you could use it for other fish, but mostly it is specialised.
So the novice, and that's obviously who we're aiming this series at,
right.
Would be far better to go for a general purpose such as that.
It would be much better to go for a general purpose, yes.
Yeah, so he could. It wouldn't matter what he got on the other end, and you never know what's going to be there.
No.
That rod is going to have a good chance of landing.
The only thing I do say, Chris, is that when you choose a rod, make sure that it's got what we call speed guides on it, which is a very high-class nylon in there.
Yeah.
Reduces the friction on your line running through them, and there's a lot of friction in there. Also down this end, he's got the nice grips here with the EVA grips or the Hyperlons.
Yeah.
And this is, a lot of people say they're too weak, they're no good, you know, but that's not true.
Yeah.
It's the only people that have trouble with this type of winch is the graphite winch is the person that gets on it and screws like the devil.
Yeah.
There's no need for that. All I do is screw it up with that hand for finger like that until and keep shaking the rest.
So that
and I just might do that, Chris. When you put it on, you should do that. Screw that down there until it's reasonably firm. Then shake the rod there, and you can feel the reel rocking about.
Yeah.
And then just tighten that up there until the shaker's taken, and that's all you need.
All right.
That's all you need.
And what about sticking the end in the sand like you see a lot of people doing?
Oh, that's not a good thing to do. That's not a good thing to do. Although with the glasses and that today, it doesn't really.
It's not too much of a problem. No. So you have to look at reasonable sophistication. In other words, the basic rod blank must be properly moulded for the purpose.
Yes.
And you should make sure that the guides that you get are of a high quality to minimise the friction on the line.
Yes.
Right. Okay. All right. Now, we see little boat rods, little short, tight ones. They're really just a means of holding the line out, aren't they?
Yes.
They're not flexible enough to be able to play a fish with.
They're not. They're kids' rods, really.
And
they really are kids' rods.
And they're just, they simply rely on the strength of the line to catch the fish.
To catch the fish, yes.
How does the flexibility of the rod contribute to actually landing the fish?
Well, you must remember that when the fish actually takes off, you haven't got the wit to turn around and say, oh, the fish is running, I've got to let him run.
Yeah.
So the rod bends over and takes that first couple of seconds so that your mind can catch up with what the fish has done, and you say, all right, now firstly that. Secondly, with a good whiting fisherman, that is these big whiting they get up the river there, and I've seen some rippers up there caught lately. They use about a 10 or 11 foot sloppy jail, and they hang that on the back of the boat, and as the fish takes it, they can see the fish taking it, they won't even worry about it until such times as that rod is bent to a certain thing. Then they'll just pick it up and say, come here, Jackie, I got you.
Yeah, I got you, yeah.
So the play in the rod means everything.
Yeah, because again, I made an analogy a week or two ago about the similarity between light tackle fishing, little fish, or estuary fish, and game fish.
Yes.
And the fact is that if that rod acts in the right way, it accelerates the rate at which the fish is tired, doesn't it?
Yes.
And you land a fish by tiring him out so he can't swim away from you anymore.
That's right, yes. The way you actually stroke the rod, bring the rod up, so some blokes take a big long drag on them, other blokes just do anyhow, we'll get into that later too.
We'll get into that in detail.
Just how to play a fish.
Well, that's very interesting, and that seems to be the Nev Howard all-purpose 8 foot does seem to be the killer stick, eh?
That's it.
See you next week.